You're officially invited to join the inner circle of top leaders from all over the country. Listen and learn as these obsessed entrepreneurs reveal the secrets that led to their success. Welcome to the community. Today's episode starts now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the community. We are back, and I'm really excited about today's episode because it's kind of, we're doing a blast from the past today. Somebody from my past and has kind of done the same thing that I have in many ways, has some very similar backgrounds, and kind of gravitated towards real estate, and now is crushing it. She is, was one of the top 3 real estate agents in all of San Diego, comes from the most beautiful city. She's an author. She's an amazing person. I know her very well because we worked together at some point. So I'd like to introduce Paulina Salazar. How are you doing today?
Thanks. I'm doing great. Even better now.
I am excited to have you here. I follow you on Instagram, and we will provide your handle on here so everyone can follow you. You awesome stories. Your posts are awesome. I'm sure that's a huge way that you get business. But it's really great. But I do remember you when we were at a nice, cool fitness club in Escondido called FU2, which stands for Fitness Unlimited 2. And I remember us talking about real estate, and that was what, 8 or 9 years ago, 8 years ago, probably. Is that about right?
8 years ago.
Pretty crazy. And I think we both come pretty far. But I think one of the reasons I really wanted to sit down and talk with you is because you have an awesome story. Just about, you were a soccer player and you did that in the past, but tell us a little bit about your background and kind of how you came from, growing up. You don't have to start. I always say you just start at birth. Like, you don't have to start at birth. Let's just start a little bit ahead of that. Tell us a little bit about your background, what kind of got you into sport, and then what brought you ultimately into real estate.
Well, let's see. I grew up playing sports, so soccer ended up being my thing, and I got hooked. Super competitive and wanted to go pro. That was the thing. However, during I think the end of high school, I had a traumatic family experience. I got kicked out. There was a lot of drama between my immediate family. And so I had a lot of anger I needed to just kind of release. Just some personal problems. So I let it out thankfully on soccer. So I'm very grateful that I had that support because at the time I really don't know what I would have done. And then, fast forward to today, I had to switch from playing soccer to real estate, and I really did a nice job of moving that anger over to real estate, aka daddy issues, I guess you should say, or whatever label it as. And then 4 years in the business, totally launched my career. First year, obviously it was a different market. It's much harder.
Yeah.
Definitely, I'm not going to take full credit, but I worked my ass off. I was working 12 to 13-hour days for years. And then when I got to year 4, I was okay, I'm getting sick. I was having panic attacks. Just couldn't go to bed because I was thinking of the business. I got really overwhelmed with just so much stuff that I would do. I was writing a book. I had a podcast. I was doing all these things, which was great, but I was running away from my problems. So finally, I feel as that just popped around year 4 or 5, and I was okay, I need to really just face my inner problems and really work through these anxieties. So when I finally did that, it took about, I'm still working on it, but now it's much different because I don't feel as angry, and now I'm just kind of in a new hurdle in my life, and it's just really trying to figure out what is my drive, why this, because it's not for anger anymore. I forgave my dad. We have a great relationship now. My family's better than ever, and it's just it's been a emotional roller coaster, but to sum it all up, that's kind of why I'm here, I guess, right? And
Yeah.
able
I,
to succeed.
I love there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot to unpack, but it's all like good. I love how, I'm glad that you and your dad are in a better place and you're kind of resolving that. But I do feel like say I think real estate agents are one of the highest with alcohol abuse,
Yeah.
and as just people we laugh about like how much, commission they make and all this. Like there's a big problem that it becomes stressful and you feel like the thing about real estate, which is hard, is that you are the business owner, the business, you're the CEO, the CFO, you're everything. And you have to be that in order, and especially starting off with, you have to wear all these hats and you're putting them on, taking them off all day long. And that's stressful. And you feel like you're on a rat, you're like just on a wheel, like nonstop. And so I think that mental issues for real estate agents is a real problem sometimes that I know that there's so many other problems and people have more issues, but as far as within the real estate space, do you feel like, that can definitely be a list for an addiction personality, like they can really do something? I mean, do you feel like that's a huge part of real estate that maybe isn't talked about?
Yeah, I think it definitely is. The more I, work on myself, the more I see it. And in this business, you do have to be high, like type A, like you don't have to be type
Yeah.
A, the majority is. You have to do a lot of things at once. That's just how it is.
Hmm.
And so, in order to have that, you have to have a really good reason to want this. Because if you're just kind of like, I'm just going to try real estate and, life's great. Dad and mom have money. I'm just going to try. Like, and there's no real like motivation
Yeah.
or emergency to make money. It's not really, it's just really hard for it to happen unless you have all these like network connections. So
Hmm.
I think that yes, most realtors are the good ones are just running away from other issues, and that's how they're able to make this all work really because you just have to be like whether it's to provide for a family or something, it's always something stressful behind that like reason. And it's really, really tough to manage that initial problem that led you to try to make money in real estate. And then now you have to deal with not only just like real estate is just one hat. Now it's like you somehow have to still know about taxes and how to have an S corp and then how to like manage a team and it's
Yeah.
just the list goes on. So it's a lot.
Yeah, you really it's I mean the countless times that, and I don't know about in other professions of how it is, but the countless times I've been yelled at by other agents, like in a very aggressive manner too. Like, I don't think many people realize like the things that happen behind the things that you don't allow your clients to see, that
Yeah.
nobody sees. Like nobody sees that, of where you're calling and you're on behalf of your client and you get berated, you get yelled at, and I think emotional intelligence is the probably one of the most important things that you can have as a real estate agent, because you have to be able to disconnect yourself from the transaction. I always tell my agents this: the moment you can disconnect yourself from the transaction, you will be a better real estate agent for your client. When you're so connected to it because pride, because of the finance part of it, whatever it is, you got to make that money. Like those are when those issues come up. And so I think it's as real estate agents, like looking back, I mean, they get such a bad rap, but I also am like, yeah, well, there's a lot of really bad, it's like the bad seeds give us the bad rap, but I think that emotional intelligence is one thing that should be talked about more in real estate agents, because like you said, they got to be type A, and it's a weird kind of profession, because you want your real estate agent to be nice. Like I
Yeah.
want to have a really good real estate agent. Like I want to be able to like, oh yeah, I'm dealing with this really, this house, my family home. I want to sell it. and whatnot. But then you're also like, well, I want to get a really good deal. So I want him to be a shark also. Like, you know what I mean? It's like one of those things. And so it's like, you almost got to be bipolar in a sense. Like that's what your clients want, you know? And so, as far as, so I know that you were in soccer before. And so as you transferred that, like you said, your anger, um, like how did you like let that out when you feel like, you know, you said real estate was kind of a way that you were able to do it. Now you're like, what outlets are you doing now to kind of let yourself release that? Like, is it still soccer or what else are you doing?
Well, now I'm just tired. Like I feel like I gave it a good run and now I'm just burnt out. And and it's not anything negative. I think we
Yeah.
all was in the business for a long time. I hear about this all the time because I do ask most realtors I've been in the business. Like if I get them on the phone and I see their record and I'm on the phone with them and I'm like, shit, this person has 20 years of experience. I always ask them, what do you think about this market? What
Yeah.
have you done in your career to stay in the business for so long? How did you handle burnout? Because there's just no way that you're not going to go through that being in the business that
Oh
long.
my gosh.
And I'm also 31. Like I feel like I want to prep my body to like have a kid now. So I personally am trying to slow down. But before that, I think I just released it all in trying to run away from it. So I just purposely would fill my schedule to the top.
Hmm.
Just knew it was too much for the day. I didn't care because I didn't want to think about anything else. I just wanted,
Yeah.
but there was that fire up my ass that I had no idea I even had. People were like, wow, you're just such a hard worker. And I'm like, okay, like I just
Yeah.
like doing, but
Yeah.
I never slowed down. And I've been listening to Mel Robbins way more lately. I love her so much.
If
And
anybody, if there's any podcast out there, I'm telling you, like Mel Robbins, like every episode, I'm like, oh God, yes, I do that. Or like, I need to work on that. Like like my wife turned me on to her and then I was like, oh gosh, like she's just so spot on with so many things.
yeah, one of the things that she recently said that really stood out, and I was like, wow, I was doing that, was she said, in order to go far, you have to slow down. Because what most people do is you want to go far, you run full sprint. And that's exactly what I did. I jumped in the industry, I did
Yeah.
13-hour days, I made cold calls for 8 hours a day, like nonstop, nonstop. And then it's like, if you do that, you just don't know where you're going. So, in
Yeah.
order to know what you want in life and where you're headed, you have to slow down. Like you got to chill out. Be like, okay, what does Paulina like? What do I enjoy doing? Where do I see myself in 5 years realistically happy? Right? Because I could say
Yeah.
during the time, if I rewind the tape and 5 years ago, I'm like, Paulina, where do you see yourself? And be like, I want to be a billionaire, and like, I want to, I want to have a team and sell this amount of homes and blah blah blah. But like, is that really what I want? Or is that just because I'm normally competitive because I have this background and I just want to hit those goals because those goals look appealing, but it has nothing to do with like who I am and what I actually want. Like
Yeah.
no one ever really advised me to do that. It was just my head was down and I was just cranking away. So
I
I'm
think
tired.
it's very hard though. Like so my the similarities to us is that I was a basketball player and I didn't play high school ball. I played like a lot of like off campus ball and the AAU leagues and different things like that. And then didn't play college, kind of just got I feel like I'm not gonna say I got snubbed, but because I don't want to give that, but I feel like I did in a sense. Not going to throw my older brother under the bus, but my coaches didn't like him, so in the end they didn't like me. And but I mean, I love basketball. That was I always tell you that was my first love. Like that was my first love, and like it was one thing that was my outlet. Like I didn't have many friends. Like I had a basketball. Like I had like 3 basketballs. So I had 3. I was like, I got 3 friends. They're amazing. Like they've never done anything wrong, and I when I was like, okay, I'm going for this or I have to stop. Was all right. There's a minor league basketball tryout, and so I tried out, and I ended up getting drafted. And they're like, oh, I'm playing with people from North Carolina, and talking to agents, and like I didn't play high school or college, but I went for it. And then kind of very similar is that I blew my knee out, and it was a bad situation, but I kind of proved to myself. But then it was like, where does that go after that? Like it's over. And so, but it has to go somewhere. Like it always has to go somewhere. and you're better than me. You're like, I'm gonna do real estate. I'm like, I'm just gonna smoke a lot of weed. Like it was like way better that way for me. So thank God, I was, in my 20s and I learned pretty quickly, um, I think that you have to transfer that obsession to something. And probably in real estate, I don't know if people have a good foundation on like the outlets that they have to have, especially coming down off a real estate transaction that was maybe really crazy. You just got, sold $1 million property. You just got 30 grand in your pocket and you're like, Vegas, I mean, you're 5 hours away. Like that seems like a great time. Right. But I think what you're talking about too is like, and I think we did this too, it's boundaries. Like boundaries to say, okay, I'm not working now, so I can work harder later. Like
Yeah.
at night at 6, like gotta have these days off. And you're like, days off? What's that? I'm in real estate, and so it doesn't have that. So I mean, do you have boundaries within your career now? Have you set those boundaries? And like, what are those boundaries for yourself?
Took 7 years, but now I have them. It still feels weird to use them. Like when I have them, I'm like, sorry, I just don't take any calls past 7. Like,
Yeah, I know. You're like, but you're a real estate.
yeah, because I still tried to like people please, and it's not. It's kind of like it's counterintuitive, but yeah, I think setting boundaries is so important. Like I said, I ran myself to the ground. I felt guilty taking weekends off because I was like, why would I take a weekend off when I can work and make money? I never took weekends off. I didn't take days off. I felt like if I stopped my day at, I remember 8 o'clock for years.
Mhm.
8 o'clock for me was early. Like I thought that if I didn't work until 8 o'clock, I just did not have a good day. And then later you learn about, start listening to Gary Vee and like all these like people. They're like quality over quantity. And I'm like, shit, well, I have the time block now. And then you time block, but I
Yeah.
don't know if I still had like all this energy to just like, all right, cold call for like 4 hours and then like find open houses and like do all this. And for some reason, the day always felt like it left so early. Like I didn't have enough hours in the day to finish everything that I wanted to do. And now it's the complete opposite. I'm like, shit, like can
Yeah.
it be night already? Like I'm trying to go to bed. Like it's changed so dramatically. So
Mhm.
it's crazy like how I go through all these phases.
Isn't that, and that's like true freedom right there, right? It's like freedom because when you answer to yourself of like you dictate your schedule, like I'm sorry, like that can wait. You really like when you start doing that a few times, like it's pretty freeing to be like, I have a client now and he's like, oh, you're probably getting calls all the time. Like I know you're a real estate agent, you work all the time. And it's like, and I was like, actually, no, I was like, if you try to call me after 6 o'clock, like I gotta like I'm doing this podcast and it's 6 o'clock here where I'm at right now, 6:30. And I'm like, this is a very late day. What am I doing? Like, I gotta go hang out with the kids and stuff. But it's freeing when you do that. And I think that we always, I mean, especially right now, I mean, obviously the market's crazy and agents are stressed the hell out right now. Like they are stressed. They are looking for deals. They're doing everything. And some of them are switching professions, which I've seen. So as far as like the market where you guys are at, like how's San Diego doing? Do you feel like I feel like it's got a little uptick over here in Austin, but do you feel like you guys are seeing a little uptick in like buyers coming out of the woodwork?
Yeah. Yeah. We are seeing multiple offers on, I'd probably say anything like under like 1,200,000. Like
Yeah.
average price point's a little higher here, but it's still pretty crazy to think that the rates are where they're at, even though they've gone down a bit. It did really help some
Yeah.
buyers. Yeah, we're seeing multiple offers on any entry level home here. So it's kind of crazy because it's like you're seeing all that, but it's still slow, but there's still no inventory, but there's still buyers. So it's such a weird market. I personally, I will be 100% honest. Out of all the years I've been in the business, this has been the slowest like couple months that I've ever had.
Hmm.
So it doesn't really, it's not
Yeah.
stable, which is what I'm trying to like shoot for at this point in my life. And so it's been very stressful for me. But I also, took a year off last year mentally to check out and work on my traumas and stuff. So I can't really say it's the market's fault that I'm this slow, but it definitely doesn't help that the market
Yeah.
is this tough. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, like it's weird because I think it's a down market, like, and especially I think end of last year was a little crazy too, of like this being down, but it's so weird because I feel like it's people still want to buy. That's not the key. The issue is not that they want to buy. Like it's like they have to have the reason to buy now. Like it can't be just like, I really want to, like when the interest rates are low, it's like, yeah, everyone should buy. Well, everyone should buy. Like I want to buy, like, but now it's like you have to have the reason. So unless they're like busting out at the seams or like something horrible happens, one of the D's, they're not going to sell. And then, so it's a really kind of just weird market, weirder than I've ever experienced. Of just it's just weird. Like it's just ups and downs. Like I mean, I have a bunch of buyers I'm working with now, and then but last month it was like zero, and then they're all coming out, and then it's been weird, but it's been like that ebb and flow for the last I think 6 months of where it's just kind of luck of the draw. You hope that somebody is busting out of the seams or not saying something bad happened, but they have to move for some reason. But that's kind of what we're seeing. So it's just, I don't know. I don't think anyone can prepare for this market. I think that's the hardest thing, is that you can be like, oh yeah, I'm getting ready. I have all my database and whatnot, but no one's buying. If no one's buying unless they have the situations, it's like, how do you just got to keep trucking on. And really in this market, this is what me and my wife say, the person that makes it to the end, the agent that makes it to the end of this market is going to be so busy because there's so many people bowing out. There's so many people that are just like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. They can't afford it. So it's like, so if you're an agent, just go find a way to make it through, because there is light at the end of the tunnel if the interest rates drop. And have you seen what Barbara Corcoran said? Have you seen what she said about it?
No,
God, I hope this is true. If this is true, like this is why I'm like, just make it to the end. She's like, this is going to be a crazier market than 2020. She's like, because you have 3 years of buyers that are waiting. And if those interest rates get below 5, like if you see a 4 in there, like if you see a 4 and it's 4.99, we're going to be so busy because that's what people are waiting for. And so she's like, it's gonna be crazy. Like it's gonna be crazier. Like prices are gonna soar. And God, I hope it gets to that. That sounds awesome.
It just feels like there's a lot of emotional trauma too from just the buyers that were wanting to buy in maybe 2018, 2019, because then 2020 hit, prices like it got inflated, and then like all of a sudden the prices are inflated, and then they're like, okay, wait, let me just like recalculate my numbers. They recalculate and they're like, oh wait, now the interest rate's like 8%. Let me recalculate the numbers, and they're like, fuck this. Like I'm just gonna put it down. So that's what's happening.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people are on the sidelines. It's just they're just trying to find that like energy and that confidence to jump back in, but they're there. So I think as a realtor, the best thing that you can do right now is just get in their face. I'm, as much as I don't want to, I've been booking open houses weekly. So if I don't have them, which I don't right now, I don't have any listings at the moment, but I'm just contacting smaller mom and pop shops because bigger brokerages won't allow you to host their opens. But the smaller mom and pop shops, I'll go on the MLS, look at the latest 7-day listings, and just basically just copy paste text messages and just say, hey, I would love to host an open house for you. So, and now agents that I've been annoying, like texting, they're the ones that are texting me now, like, hey, Paulina, I have a new listing coming next week. Do you want to do the open house over the weekend? I'm like, please sign me up. But it's crazy to think that this is me going back to the basics, which is exactly where I don't want to be, but I gotta do to make money in this market. And that's just what I'm doing. I'm following up with my past clients. I'm for sure, like, there's never been one day where I don't continue my follow-up. I have systems in place that just keeps me going with everybody in my database. So every day I have a set of tasks to do. And some of those tasks have been tasks 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago. It's just like whatever lands for that day, I use follow-up. So I'm very organized in that sense. But as far as like new prospects, it's really, I told myself, if I'm going to get through this year, it's got to be something that I love to do. And that's social media. I love making videos and just more classes, like hosting more classes, mental health, teaching realtors how to use social media, buyer seller question or seminars, teaching them how to buy homes. And I'm just like prepping all of those warm leads so that when it does pop, hopefully she's right.
Yeah.
Huge of people waiting to buy.
So tell me about these classes that you're doing, because I, do you have two sisters that are in like they're therapists or in psychology? Is that right?
Yeah, I have a younger sister. Her name's Carolina. She studied like ABA and all of that. So she works closely with kids, which is kind of
Mhm.
tries to apply the same things that they teach her onto like our family dynamics.
Yeah.
So she tries to like retrain us on like how to say and like reinforcing our behaviors. And
Yes.
like I know what she's doing sometimes, so it's kind of annoying. But yeah, she has a background in that. So now that you say that, it's kind of funny because I'm leaning more towards going that mental
Yeah.
health route as well. But just for business owners and realtors, I think like you said, this industry is tough. And it's not just, I mean, real estate's definitely unique. I'm biased to say that, but
Right.
any business owner, any entrepreneur, just running your own business is not easy. Most people do it for the freedom, but that's actually the hardest thing to get out of it.
Yes.
You're in it.
Yeah. You're usually self-employed to yourself, and like you become an indentured servant to yourself, and it's hard unless you have like systems in place, and obviously you're trying to move to a place where you are trying to eliminate your own position is always like you find something like, hey, is this repeatable? Can I do this? Can I have somebody else do this? But I think we're very similar in some other ways too. So Jen, my wife, both of her sisters are therapists. So like her younger one she's about ready to finish hers, but I mean, she's just every time I learn something every time though. Like, I'm resistant because but she'll be saying things and I'm like, well, I don't know. And then I'm like, you know what, I should 100% probably do that, even if it's something with the kids and whatnot. So I think those tools, and it's funny because I think that we're just so in the public in real estate. Like we're talking to people, and understanding how to regulate yourself is one thing, and then you also have to almost, and then you've maybe done this of where you've had crazy clients. All my clients have ever been good. If anyone watched this, I've never had a crazy client. Just making sure everyone knows that. But but you're almost like diagnosing like, oh my gosh, this person is 100% this, because some things they're so erratic in some sense. And so I feel like understanding yourself is one thing, but like we're honestly in the public all the time seeing the best and the worst sides of people. I mean, do you agree with that?
Yeah. And I think dealing with money too always makes
Oh yeah.
people their true colors. Like whether they're anxious about spending all this
Mhm.
money, they're wiping out their savings to buy a home, or they're selling and then making all this money. It's always got to do with money. So
Please.
that makes people come out. And then on the realtor side too, if we're on the borderline of canceling a deal, for example, and they're going batshit crazy, like it's not going to help if you go back and you talk shit back. So like
Yeah.
I had one crazy agent. I to this day, I mean, I'm not going to drop names, but it was just by far probably the most
Yeah.
like my clients. Long story short, my clients didn't want the house, and I was trying to tell him like they didn't want the house, and he was upset, and it was because it had foundation issues. It was literally
Yeah.
on ill, like, and it just wasn't good. So he was upset and like went off on me. Took it so super personal, and I'm in the car. I have him on speaker. I was dating my husband at the time, and he had just been introduced to like all this craziness. So he's like barely getting used to it, and this guy's just going off on me. I'm just sitting there, just taking it. And then at the end, I just said, okay, like, thank you so much for, expressing your concerns with me. Like, I'm so sorry that you feel like that. Just acknowledging his feelings.
Yeah.
And then he's like, let me talk to them and then I'll get back to you. And then I just hung up. And then Lucas was like, are you freaking kidding me? Like, why didn't you defend yourself? Like, he was just so upset. And I was just like,
Yeah.
me just listening, I got so much ammo to hit him back with because he was just full blown emotion, just talking like that in negotiations is the worst thing you can do. I ended
Mhm.
up coming back. They lowered it like another 50 grand, like because of
Yeah.
what he said and because of my response. So emotional intelligence in this industry can make you a
Yes.
really, really good agent, and it can also hurt you really, really bad. So
Yes.
so
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, I think that it's emotional intelligence is, and not being able to be reactive to those situations is hard, you know? So kudos to you for that. I know that, you know, especially probably, you know, being your boyfriend and you know, soon to be husband or whatever, like he was like, I know, like, it's even funny because you get more protective, you know, like somebody's talking to Jen that way. I'm like, you know what? You tell him, meet me here. You know, if it was my deal, I'd be like, it's not a big deal. Like, whatever, you know, because I could do it. But it's like when somebody else is, what does your husband do for a living?
Well, he was a chef when I met him, and now he's working with investors.
Oh,
So,
okay. Oh, so
yeah.
he's taking he tasted the water, he tasted the Kool-Aid, and it's over now, right?
He saw what it was doing with me, and he's like, I want to be crazy. I want to go do that.
That's awesome. Well, so what I want to definitely get into with you is talking a little bit more about kind of what you have going on now. As far as I know, you wrote a book, right? How long ago did you do that?
I need to rewrite that. That was, I think, my third year in the business. Probably.
Really? I'm gonna buy
Then
it. No, before you rewrite it, I'm buying it. That's it. Oh, it's
it's free.
free?
Yeah.
Oh, come on.
I
Well, I'm
just
gonna
wanted.
pay you.
I was no. I just was at first. I was $20 at first, and then I took it all. I was like, this is stupid. But it was. I wanted to document what was working for me
Yeah.
because I was growing so fast, and then listening to a lot of other successful entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
Basically, it all led to like just write this, and I was really passionate at the time to like write something, and
Yeah.
so that. But it's so I feel like it's very old data because I'm talking about hosting open houses and like how to get them and stuff, and like nowadays it's you can't even. I mean, it takes me 4 days sometimes to find one open house. It's not the same market.
Really?
I wrote that, yeah. So
Wow.
I'm
It's a little different here then, definitely, because we have a lot more open houses. Is it just like they just don't have open houses, or is it that people just don't allow you to do open houses that because everyone's doing them? Like, why can't you get open houses?
both because if you can't do an open house according to some brokers. You
Mm,
can't open house for them if you're not with their brokerage.
got
Another
it.
excuse is like, no thanks. I have a team. Like, obviously, you're going to give it to your agents to do,
Yeah,
or the seller's just not allowing an open.
got
So,
it.
I mean, I'm texting anywhere from 10 to 20 agents a day. Like, hey, let me host, please.
But I love, I think I love that you are doing that. We were like said, hey, you got to go back to the basics, and the basics are the best. I feel like I've talked to a lot of agents that are, we have this, I guess, delusion because it's 2020 and 2021 where it was like shooting fish in a barrel. Like it was like nothing. And like, that's so beneath me. Open houses. I've done, do you know how many transactions I did in 2020? Like, I just want to let you know, like, you're like, no, it's not like, open houses, like, man, that's where the people go. They go to the product. So I absolutely love that you're doing that because that's what you have to do. And so you can't be so prideful. You're like, I don't do open houses anymore. You're like, yeah, you obviously don't close deals either because that's basically what open houses are the best right now opportunity. And with all the buyer agents that are just kind of fleeing the scene, my wife did one last weekend with one of our agents, and she's literally getting a buy and sell out of it. Like first
Mhm.
open house ever. Like, and so I love that you're doing that because it's taking the pride out of it, which is super emotionally intelligent to be like, it's not beneath me. This is what you have to do. And hopefully we get to a point when that doesn't apply anymore, but I love that you're doing that. So props to you on that.
Yeah, I always say 2023 and like trickling onto this year, if I could describe it in one word, it's just humbling. Like
I love
that's
that.
what it is. Like for us like seasoned agents that have, we've been through a couple
Yeah.
of markets, it's been so humbling and yeah, just having to go back to the basics and somewhere I definitely don't want to be because yeah, I asked me 3 years ago if I want to do an open house, no
Yeah.
thanks. Like doing that.
You're like, no, I'm sorry. I just do luxury. That's all I do now. I just do luxury listings and I'm sorry. But yeah, I mean, And that's being a business owner, though. Like sometimes you just have to stick with the recipes that work. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to, you can be creative, you're gonna have these things, but sometimes you got to stick with what works, you know, and open houses work. They really do. And getting back to the basics. And are you calling expired still?
No, not anymore. I should. My husband was telling me about how in the investor side they're having a lot of success with expireds right now because
Mhm.
a good chunk of them just did flood their market, you know. But no, I just don't. It's just too much. Like if I do expireds and then
Yeah.
open house, which I already don't want to do, and
Yeah.
then 10xing my social media, I'm like, Paulina, just
You're like doing all
another
these things.
yeah, another Mel Robbins trick for her, which was something new that I did this year, which I've never done before, but it felt so good. I always have maybe 15 to 20 goals, and
Mm.
within that, I divide them spiritual, business, financial,
Yeah.
family, like, with all of that. But out of out of all of those, she advised in her packet, just pick one. And I was like, one? Like, what the fuck? Like, I don't want to pick
Yeah.
just one.
I love
It's
it. Yeah.
pick one. But there was one that stood out, which for me was hosting more emotional intelligence classes and
Mm.
hosting more classes and really perfecting my public speaking skills, getting a speaking coach. And, so I was like, okay, I'm going to pick that one. And then she has you pick a second one, which was my social media. And then coincidentally, I'm like looking at all these things that I have to do to get to these two items. And it ended up filling in the rest of the goals. It was really weird. Like,
Wow.
if I do this, eventually I will make this much, like eventually I probably will sell this much home. So I
Mm.
just focus on two like lead gens, but that I'm okay doing. Open houses for me is not something that I have on there, but it's something easy for me to just find and do. It's literally 2 hours on a Saturday, it's 2 hours on a Sunday.
Yeah.
I need to just shut up and do it. So,
I love
yeah.
that though. But that's I mean, and that's what happens. We have all these goals. We have our vision. I have a vision board I'm staring at right now of like, you see all these, like, I gotta do this. You're like,
Yeah.
well, if you accomplished one of those this year, just one,
Yeah.
like odds are, like you said, it's gonna start filling in some of the gaps on the other ones too. And you're way closer to all those other ones. But when you
Yeah.
start saying here, this one, this one, this one, this one, and you're like kind of scatterbrained, I think that's great advice. I think it really is. And so
Have like
let me go ahead.
So I have a videographer, for example, going this weekend to my open houses because I'm like, I might as well just do home tours because I don't have that very many buyers to show homes for either. So if I can just do home tours, that also feeds into my social media. So the open houses actually by default are helping my social
Mhm.
media. I'm posting one reel a day, like no excuses. I'm trying to do that for 2 months. And then after 2 months, I want to see if I can kind of re-sign my contract with my own self to do another 2 months. But
Mhm.
like I have a folder in my phone and it's like in the queue, like ready to launch onto
Yeah.
to social. So if I could just keep adding to the queue, I think I will hit my goal with social media.
Are you doing all the editing yourself?
Right now, yes, but we do have my colleague and we have connections with some guy in the Philippines, and he's been editing them for super cheap. But
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying like editing them where I want to edit like my cutoff of my voice. Like this weekend, it's me and I'm gonna bring my Napoleon Dynamite costume and my Borat. So
Yes, that is awesome.
can't really edit it the way that I want with my humor yet. Yeah, I can like slowly
Yeah,
build that up. I think I just need to figure out what works for me first,
I
and
love
then
that.
of them to show them like this is what is my style. Please help me edit. Then I think eventually I will pay somebody.
Yeah, we just got one not too long ago, and it's a process even to that because you're like they have to know who you are, and so it's always kind of like, no, this is kind of your editing styles. Like it's cool what he does. I love it. I mean, it saves me so much time, and Jen's doing a lot of it. We're really focusing on that, and me with the coaching. But it's one of those things. It's just it's the time thing that it just takes me so much. If I'm wanting to do like 1 to 3 a day on TikTok, Instagram, all these, it's just time consuming, to do that. Plus, if you become a perfectionist, that's the worst. if you're an editing perfectionist, like that's where I'm at, where it's like, it's not done yet. It's not done. I got to add, I could totally add this sound effect here and it would be now I got to add this thing too. So, I think when you get, it's kind of one of those things where it's like releasing it too, is that when you step back, you're like, you know what, I'm just going to let them handle it. And so when you get to that point, it's hard at first, but I think that you might find some peace in that, because you're like, oh yeah, they'll eventually figure out your style, and then you get to kind of like take a breath, and you don't have to do that. So
It'd be really
I know you. What's that?
so that would be really nice to finally get there. And I know I'll get there, and I know it's needed because time's money, and my time is not better spent editing a video. It's just not. You go
Yeah.
get some
I
deals.
love your social media though. Honestly, you make, I think you make real estate fun, and it's your personality. And that's the one thing that you have to always do on social media is don't be fake. Like just be yourself, and yourself is awesome. Like yourself is awesome. And they need that, like that authenticity about with everybody. And I think what I see from a lot of real estate agents that do social media, which I love what you do, is they try to be everybody else. Like they're putting everybody else's shoes on. And so you're just like real. And if you mess up, you don't edit it out sometimes. Like I love that. Like sometimes you just don't like that, which is cool, And so, I think you're on the right track, and I'm excited to see what you do in 2024. And I'm really hoping that this can throw some encouragement to somebody for a couple of things. Why I really want to talk to you, and then it develop into something even better, is find some way to have an outlet and understand how to manage your emotions. And the third, I would definitely say, is if you have to get back to the basics, lose your ego, lose your pride, be humble, and get back to the basics. That's the only way sometimes you're going to have to get to the top. But are you doing are the online like emotional intelligence classes that you're doing?
No, not online yet. They're all in person as of now in San Diego.
Okay.
My godfather actually is like licensed in all this therapy work he used to do in Brazil, like past regression therapy,
Mhm.
hypnosis, like the whole spiel. So for now, I'm kind of using him as like he's going to be hosting, he's going to be the one speaking, and then eventually he'll probably train me on all the science
Yeah.
that he's learned, and then I can probably 10x that with like more research that I do, and
Mhm.
eventually having people like psychologists and doctors actually come and speak, and it'd be like a Q&A in front of just people. I just want to provide that space for them and that invitation too, because like you said, I really don't think it's talked about as much,
Yeah.
and it's really needed, especially in hard times like this.
Oh man, I know that there's a real estate agent probably listening to this right now and going, like, yeah, I could use that. I could have used that 6 months ago. I could use that now. Like there are, so I definitely think it's needed. So I think there's a space for that, and I applaud you for taking that on. So, but it is that time. I have to ask you one question. And this is what I ask every real estate agent. And you gotta, and then you gotta put $1,000 down on. I'm just joking. You don't have to do that. But what you have to do, what is your prediction for 2024? What is, and they'll be like, well, this is what I think. No, put it down. Like we're taking this to the bank. We're going to Vegas. What's your prediction? What's going to happen in the real estate market?
Hmm. I think I think we're gonna have another 2020. I think it might not be as crazy as another 2020, but I think it's going to be another frenzy. Like it's going to be another are you freaking kidding me moment for the people that were on the sidelines. I think that it's going to be that. There's definitely obviously going to be a refi boom, like that's also
Yes.
coming. So just naturally lenders are going to, lucky them to be in the industry for 2024 as well.
Right.
And I think with the elections being this year, throwing in some conspiracies that I've heard, like I just feel like it's for sure going to be a very memorable year.
All right. Well, I'm going to turn the recording off. We're going to get to the conspiracies now.
I don't know if I believe them, but I'm like that makes sense. Like I'm just
Super
going to wait.
interesting though.
Until it
Yeah.
happens, So
Okay.
I know there definitely will be a lot of movement. I'm I'm pretty sure of before the elections, because everyone's trying to get voted. So I think it's going to be a very interesting year and one to remember for sure for us in the business.
Well, awesome. So if you're in the market, what she's saying right now, to break this down, if you are looking to buy, do it now. Because if not, you're going to be paying a lot more, right?
Yes.
And if you are in San Diego and you are looking for a house, the only person that I trust is Paulina Salazar. So make sure that you reach out to her. We'll put all our contact and follow her on Instagram because, I mean, even if you're not buying real estate, she's hilarious and she makes it fun. So thank you for being here. And I look forward to the next time we have you on.
Thanks, Travis.
All right. I'll talk to you later.